What can I say? I live the experience of a black woman who is attacked and over-sexualized. See, I'm so tired.
Right now at 5 o'clock, oral arguments now scheduled in connection to the Fulton County election interference case against former President Donald Trump.
The former president's attorneys are appealing a judge's ruling that allowed Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to remain on the case. The hearing is now set for December 5th, which is significant because it means the case against Donald Trump in Georgia will definitely not be resolved before the November election. The former president's team wants DA Willis removed from the case and the charges dropped over what they allege was an inappropriate relationship between the district attorney and the former lead prosecutor on the case. Nathan Wade resigned after Judge Scott McAfee decided that either he or DA Willis needed to step down.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about more good news for Trump, which means more meltdowns from liberals that seem to be happening on a daily basis now, because it seems as if Donald Trump truly is Teflon, okay? After surviving a failed assassination attempt by a would-be assassin, Trump has gotten some good news when it comes to his legal battles. The first piece of good news that happened is that the classified documents case against Jack Smith has been dismissed by Judge Eileen Cannon in light of Clarence Thomas's opinion in the immunity case, where he outlined how he didn't like the fact that Jack Smith had been appointed as special counsel and questioned the constitutionality of his appointment. So Judge Eileen Cannon goes along with Clarence Thomas and she dismisses the classified document case against Trump. Okay, a lot of people believe that that was the strongest case that the left had against Trump. That's gone. Okay, it looks like the January 6th case is not going to happen anytime soon, again, because they have to work out what actually is an official act versus an unofficial act that the president undertook on January 6th or leading up to January 6th. That's going to take a while to flesh out. And if Trump becomes president, which looks like it's likely at this point that he will, he can just get rid of those two cases, okay? Now, when it comes to the state cases, those cases are also in danger because of this immunity ruling. What you have happening is that Trump is currently challenging his conviction out in New York by essentially saying that, okay, the immunity argument, the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court applies to this case, and therefore we're going to use that as a grounds to have the case removed altogether, most likely trying to get it from state court to federal court and then appealing it all the way up to the Supreme Court, okay, which again means that Trump probably won't get sentenced for a while. Okay, there's going to be delay when it comes to that, and who knows, maybe that conviction could be thrown out altogether. We really don't know, but it certainly seems like it's in jeopardy, right? And the other state case against Trump, which is led by Nathan's hot dog lover, Fani Willis, that one seems to be in jeopardy as well, too. And I think Fani knows that it's in jeopardy because last time we heard from Fani, she was going on an unhinged rant against the Trump team and MAGA and conservatives and Republicans boo-hoo and crying racism and bigotry, claiming that she has been sexualized, okay? She was pulling the victimhood card.
While they over there running their mouth, I'm over here paying them no mind. See, I'm so tired of hearing these idiots call my name as Fanny in a way to attempt to humiliate me. Because like silly schoolboys, the name reminds them of a woman's rear.
Yeah, so as you can see there, Fanny Pack clearly doesn't care about the case anymore because she is still lashing out to the public, crying bigotry and racism and hatred against her from the defense team, which could put her in danger of conducting what Judge McAfee called forensic misconduct, okay? I mean, this is essentially Fani Willis potentially trying to taint the jury pool, and that could put the trial at risk, especially as it goes throughout the appeal process. I mean, the Trump team is appealing this decision, and Fani Willis's conduct is a part of it, and they are trying to use that in order to get her thrown off of the case. And she doesn't, again, seem to care, especially as it goes throughout the appeals process, because I think that deep down she knows that is over, right? What she actually cared about was not the case itself, because the case itself is bogus. What she cared about was getting the conviction before the election. So now she's acting recklessly because she's not going to get that conviction before the election, despite her last-ditch effort in a petition to the court to have the trial move forward, which has now been officially rejected by the appeals court. And it looks like the oral arguments to have Fani Willis removed from the case will start in December, guaranteeing that the trial will not start before the election. Devastating news from Fani Willis. Let's listen to, react, and laugh at these Trump deranged liberals get upset about this ruling against Fani Willis.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown. So, Glenn, we got a pretty definitive update from Trump's Georgia trial. That was one of the trials that we were looking at closely now that we're likely to not see any movement in Florida and also D.C. So can you give an explanation of what just happened?
Imagine living your life looking out for signs that the trial is going to happen before the election, right? Again, imagine just how deranged you have to be. Where it's like, oh, well, all of these cases are falling apart. All eyes on Fani, all eyes on the woman that essentially slept away the career opportunity of a lifetime, right? Imagine having to depend on a woman like Fani Willis. And again, the irony here is that these same individuals are the people that were praising liberal black women for saving democracy, right? Just 4 years ago. Now, all of a sudden, fast forward 4 years, these liberal black women seem to be the reason why Trump is probably going to win, right? Why this trial is not going to happen. And it's just hilarious, right? It really is.
Down in Georgia.
Yeah, Brian, I'm not going to bury the lead. There is now no chance that Donald Trump will go to trial in his RICO case in Georgia before the election. Why is that? Well, you may remember that after Judge McAfee ruled that District Attorney Fani Willis absolutely can stay on the case, can continue to head up the prosecution of Donald Trump and all of his criminal associates, his co-conspirators. Donald Trump and company appealed it to the Georgia Court of Appeals, and Fani Willis filed something which I'm going to call a long shot motion saying, wait a minute. You don't need to take this up on appeal. There is no legal issue that needs to be resolved based on the ruling that was handed down by Judge McAfee. So she asked the appeals court to return it directly to Judge McAfee without taking it up on appeal, hoping, perhaps against hope, that she could get it back on the trial track and maybe there was a chance it would be tried before the November election. Well, now the appeals court just said, nope, we're keeping it. We're setting it for oral argument when? December 5th, a month after the presidential election, because, what's the rush? It's only the guy running for president as the Republican nominee who tried to steal the election from the people of Georgia. And Brian, he did it, for gosh sakes, on audio tape. Just find me 11,780 votes and corruptly declare me the winner. Why would we want to go about trying to hold him accountable before he could potentially get reelected and finish the job? In other words, finish off our democracy. But that is now where we are.
Well, first and foremost is because, again, these accusations and these charges are bogus. First and foremost, okay? Trump did not try to overturn the Georgia election by telling the Secretary of State to do something illegal. He was like, listen, we need to have recounts. All I need is this many votes in order to win. So, again, what he's saying is that there's a narrow margin, and because there's a narrow margin, we need a recount, which, again, should not be a controversial thing, okay? It should be controversial. But again, according to these guys, right, they think that the court should do sloppy work. Just allow a prosecutor who a judge has already ruled has a strong odor of mendacity around her, okay, in her relationship with Nathan Hot Dog Wade, the conflict of interest, who has been accused of corruption. People are currently protesting against her because of the corruption. Just allow that to move forward, and that's justice, right? That's how the legal system should work without settling some of the legal questions surrounding this trial, right? This is what they're advocating for. This is what they advocated for with the classified documents case. This is what they advocated for when it came to the January 6th case. They're advocating for a rush job. Now, notice how all of these trials outside of the ones in New York actually are going through the process of making sure that it is fair, okay? Now, the ones in New York, clearly, those were rush jobs, right? Those were rush jobs. And because those were rush jobs, it tells you everything you need to know about the legitimacy of those rulings, okay? The mainstream liberal media says, oh, no, you can't question the outcome of the New York trial. That's a threat to democracy. While at the same time, questioning the Supreme Court and their rulings. Also questioning Judge Eileen Cannon and her rulings, questioning the Georgia appeals court. So it's almost as if they just disagree with it, right? If it's not something that's going to allow the court to do sloppy work against Trump before the election to get him convicted, then they just disagree with it. But you're the threat to democracy, though, if you question any court ruling that was rushed, right? That was clearly a hit job, a political hit job against the president. Again, it's funny how that worked. But I want you guys to understand, when it comes to this Fani Willis case, it's basically done, okay? Because now the oral arguments have been pushed back to December, which means it's not going to happen for the election, the trial that is. And also on top of that, with this immunity ruling from the Supreme Court, that is also another grounds in which the defense can continue to appeal, right? And maybe have the case thrown out all together. We really don't know. But if Trump wins and becomes president, then he's definitely not going to stand trial, right? That's definitely not going to happen. The trial is not going to happen. And also, he's not going to go to jail, okay? And they're going to have to wait a whole nother 4 years, right? There's going to be a whole nother 4 years of waiting in which anything can happen in the next 4 years before they can even think about having the president go to court over this.
Glenn, obviously, the decision by Fani Willis to have an affair with another prosecutor on the team was a stupid decision, and it's created some issues here.
Hey, Brian, you better be careful. You better be careful as a white liberal man. Now, I don't know if you're straight, okay? I don't know if you're Christian, okay? But at least as a white liberal man, it seems like you're getting a little bit too big for your britches now. You're out here criticizing a black woman. They might accuse you of racism and sexism, okay? You better not. You better not start coming out here telling the truth about how Fani Willis caused this trial, this case to be delayed, right? It's her own fault that it's not happening. You better not. You better be careful, okay? Because the woke mob, they don't like that. They don't like that. You're a white liberal man. Stay in your place. You can't criticize the black woman, even if it's true. Can't do that.
But in fairness, isn't it also likely that this case would have been pushed off because Donald Trump's defense team would have taken the Supreme Court's immunity decision and asked Judge McAfee and then appealed this over and over again to see whether the immunity decision impacts the ability for prosecutors to even carry forward with this case?
Almost certainly. High likelihood that that would have happened, just like the Supreme Court's horrific, a president is king, a president is above the law. What the Supreme Court did is they demoted our democracy to a monarchy, plain and simple. The Supreme Court decision almost certainly would have ended up derailing the Georgia state prosecution. That is the horrific decision that a president is, in essence, a king. He's above the law. The Supreme Court seems determined to demote our democracy to a monarchy. And just as the Supreme Court opinion has at least impeded Donald Trump's sentencing date in his New York case, where he stands criminally convicted of 34 felonies for trying to basically rob the American people of their vote in the 2016 presidential election. Wow. They are now litigating the impact of the Supreme Court decision on that case to see whether they can proceed to sentencing or whether there might be some other remedy or fix that they need to put in place. It almost certainly would have at least delayed or maybe derailed the Georgia state prosecution, but it's not a certainty. They could have gone about litigating, for example, whether it was an official presidential act for a president to call the Secretary of State down in Georgia and demand that he just come up with enough votes to declare Donald Trump the winner. Call me crazy, Brian, not an official act of a sitting president. And I think they actually could have resolved that issue and then moved in the direction of a trial. Of course, Donald Trump would have tried to sort of jump over into the federal system and beat feet up to the Supreme Court to try to, call in some more favors from, Justice Thomas and Justice Alito. So, yeah, but this pretty much seals the deal. We don't even have to wonder if the Supreme Court decision would have derailed the Georgia RICO prosecution. Consider it derailed.
Awesome. Amazing. I love it. Right? I love it. I love these people fuming, mad, upset. Because they should be, honestly, right? They really should be. I would be heated if I was them too. Guys, where were we at the beginning of this year? At the beginning of this year, we were not only looking at Trump facing all of these trials and prosecutions against him, right? We were looking at him going to court, okay, possibly being convicted, okay, on some of them, if not all of them. We don't know. Also, we were looking at him being potentially removed from the ballots. We were looking at all of these things. And now, fast forward, it is July, 7 months into the year. And what we have is basically all of these cases have gone away except the one conviction that nobody cares about, in which there's not even going to be a sentencing now, at least not for a while, because of the Supreme Court immunity ruling. Trump not only survived those things, he also survived being impeached twice. He survived being arrested. He survived an assassination attempt. I mean, this man is Teflon. This is why I really believe that divine intervention is happening right now. What we're witnessing right now, guys, is some type of, again, divine force that is guiding Trump back into the White House. And I'm so serious about that, right? I'm so serious. And I don't like saying stuff like that very casually. But we are witnessing the greatest American comeback story in history. Again, this story, if Trump wins, is going to be one of the greatest American stories ever told. Ever told. I mean, we're talking about cemented forever. Okay? And we're living in it, guys. We're living in it. Not only are we living in it, we're on the right side of it. And again, I think that's the most important part about it. And again, this is why we have to finish it off. We have to finish it off strong with an overwhelming election victory, a landslide victory. Because again, if that happens, man, the comeback story will be complete, and these people will just absolutely lose it. They will lose their minds. In fact, I'm afraid for these liberal cities, that is. Not for anybody that lives outside a liberal city. You ain't got to worry too much. But if you live in a liberal city, I'll be extremely concerned about the reaction from the left if Trump ends up completing, again, what I am describing, what I believe is the greatest American comeback story ever. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.